My name's Dave Spooner. I'm with the Woodland Wood Carvers, and this is my
name is
co-pilot.
Fidencio, and I am also a member of Wood Carvers.
And today we're here to show some of the power tools that are used for power carving. Some of the things we're going to cover is the reciprocal chisels. I got two different kinds. We're going to cover the 4.5 inch grinder, angle grinder, and some of the accessories that are used for that. Then we're going to go to what I call is the mini angle grinder, what we can do with that. And then we're going to go to the micro motors, and then some of the other side issues with your Dremel. We got the Weecher right here, and maybe some other miscellaneous things in between there. Oh, and then the flex shaft carvers too, the Fordham. And the one we'll probably start with is these reciprocal. I'll start with the larger one. Arbortech makes this, and it almost looks like they took an angle grinder and converted it into a reciprocal chisel. And just to kind of demonstrate what it's going to do or how it works, it's a little noisy, but anyway, it goes here. And what's nice is they're really safe to work with because you don't get that. You can actually hold it, and it doesn't really chew in until you put pressure on it, and it'll start ratcheting into forming. Now you can take and you've got different blades that's available for it. You've got the veiner tool. You have the V tool, and then of course a couple gouges in your flat chisel, and I think there's some more you could order too, but these are the main ones that you use. And with this one, you've got like a little hole right there where there's a little felt to lubricate this chisel area for reciprocating. So you just got to kind of lube that from time to time to keep it from burning up and that. And then as far as changing the bits, you pull it out and you can put another one in. It's a good tool if you've got a lot of material to move, and I found it's really good at removing oak, some really hardwood, cherry, and all that, so it really goes in there good. There's another one here, Automac, and that's a similar same way. You can actually hold it until you put pressure on it, and that'll the more pressure you put on it, the harder it'll cut. So with these, you've got a variety of different chisels that come with it, and then you can buy chisels online too. These happen to get from Woodcraft, and there's like a 40. It comes with like a 45-degree V, along with a 60, and then you've got some real tiny ones for some fine work. And then you got your typical small gouges. And there's a flat one there. And it takes a wrench to change the bits. And it's a pretty handy gizmo. It fits nicely in your hand. It's nice and maneuverable and that. This one is a little bit clumsy, but still workable. But it's good for the bigger chisels. This one's better for a little bit of finer work and that. But does the job when you need it to do it. So each tool has its own purpose and unique qualities and that, and that's what's good. Whenever you have a job to do and the more tools you've got, the better you can get at it in that. Then there's what I like is the 4.5-inch angle grinder. A lot of people don't think of those as power carving when it comes down to power carving, but you do have certain accessories to those. One of the main ones, at least they started with, was this one right here, and it's like a little chainsaw on a wheel, and it's very aggressive. You can cut a lot of material out of the way. The only thing is you really have to be focused to really control it, because it can get away from you if you're not concentrated on it. So recommend with a T-handle here to kind of hold it in place, and maybe gloves, because when you have that wood coming off this wheel, it can actually sting your hands if you don't have the guard in the right place. So those are.
Would you say that this is a chainsaw?
Yeah, it's like a chainsaw, only on a wheel, in that. And I've used it quite a bit for. Where it's really good is if you've got a tree stump and you want to carve in a gnome's face or a wood spirit or something, it can take away a lot of material for you. So it does it very, very efficiently. For the angle grinder also, you can replace that disc with this. It's a cut saw. It's called this particular brand is a cut saw, and they've got other brands with similar type properties to it. And you can get it in different shapes and in different grits. And it's also pretty aggressive, not like the chainsaw, but it'll remove a lot of work if you're shaping something. If you got a long piece you want to shape in a rough piece, it does very well. And of course, it's recommended that you have a little guide on there for safety purposes, so you don't want to get your fingers in the way either in that. So that's another good device to use with your 4.5-inch angle grinder. And I think the discs are about $40 a piece on the average, and they can give and take. So they're a little bit on the pricey side, but they really save you a lot of money, a lot of time, so it'll save you a lot of work too. There's another one here. Excuse me for bending, but they got what's called an Arbitec, and it's what's called a ball gouge. And it comes with, you can buy, this is the standard one that it normally comes with, and you can get a mini one right there. Also, you can get like a router with it, a little sanding drum. Okay, we'll try this just to show you how it goes. So depending on how hard you use the machine, how hard you press down or move it. If you do it real hard, you get that chatter. So you need to kind of guide it in there. And it takes a little bit to learn how to use it. A little bit of a learning curve, a little practice. But otherwise, it's a good tool when you're trying to gouge something out. And like I said, you got different sizes, a small one, the router, the little sandpaper, and that. So that is just about, for now, all the tools, the accessories that you can get with a angle grinder. And there's another guy here, and I won't run this one because it puts out a lot of chips quickly. It's kind of noisy. But this is like I call it a mini angle grinder. And it's for your smaller work. And this can come in with some other accessories. You can change that wheel around. And you could do like a mini Cutzel wheel, just like this big one. But it kind of reduces it depending on what kind of work you do. And also, you got a cutoff wheel that comes with it. And then different grits of sandpaper on the disc. Yep. And so we've got that. And it's a good little tool. Again, it's a matter of focusing what you're doing so it doesn't get away from you. And I think you really like that one. Then we're going into the micro carver, the micro motors.
Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about the power carving. I would say that the majority of the carvers, we start basically with a knife. A chisel, a knife, very simple work to do, but that's how we start, or that's how I started. And then I was a little bit afraid to use power carving, because sometimes the power carving is cutting the wood very, very fast. So you start to do something simple, and then you feel that it's taking you a lot of time. I was making birds, and in my birds, it was taking me a long time. So I started to go to make it a little bit faster. So how do I start it? I bought a simple power tool, very, very simple, very cheap. Those tools are more expensive. As he said, yep. You're paying $40 for
just a disc?
Just for one part.
Yep.
But in the case, I bought this one that is about $14, even $10 you can find in some places. But I was not satisfied with this because it's not power enough. When I upgrade, I bought a Dremel. And when it comes to Dremel, you can buy two types. The one that you have to charge it, like this one. But after 15 minutes or less, depending how much you carve, you see that you have to charge the battery. So I had to buy a second battery. And then I finally bought a third one, so I have 3 batteries. So this is not very efficient. It's very simple because you can use this and do it like this and do do your power carving. The third option that is a little bit higher, so you are talking about $12 of this, then you're talking about $40, $50, depending where you buy your tool, and then you go to something a little more expensive that will be this one. This is the one that I use most of the time. The advantage of this is that it has about 35,000 revolution per second.
Per minute.
Per minute.
Yep. Yep.
And also you can regulate, you can go very, very slow speed, higher, 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 higher. So it's a very, very good tool to work and do small things.
And the hand pieces are pretty comfortable.
The
too.
other thing is that to change the board, so it's a very simple, just put it there, and that's it. You don't have to use any tool, no pliers or no wrenches, so it's very simple. And the other big advantage that has this tool is that it's reversible. So you can do your carvings of small carvings, like in this case, I was doing this leaf. And it's, as I said, reversible and very, very good tool. Now, you can go to a brand that is more expensive. That will be the Fordham. This unit, I think that right now is in the range of 300, 400. I don't know the price of this, but it's a very, very, very good. So that's my experience that I have about power carving. So my suggestion is, if you start to do carving with a knife, with the time you're going to see that you want to upgrade. So that's when you upgrade to this. And then when you are more professional, like David, he's more professional, amateur, then you go and spend more money. I go into this. This is a great, I wish I could have some of those tools, because you can do it very, very fast. But you have to learn, you have to be more, you have to have a goal. What is that I'm going to make? If you're going to make little things, little birds, little a caricature that will be this one. The knives and some of these small and simple power tools. You want something more, go to this, and then you can talk with somebody that has experience. Like he has experience, he can tell you the advantages and the disadvantages of each tool.
Thank you.
That's my general impression that I have about power carving. In a club, we have different types of carvers. Some of them, they don't like to do power carving, because you have to also, for this, you have to use a mask. The dust is an issue.
Yeah.
With this, you have to have more, I would say, industrial gloves, or gloves that are a little bit heavier. You have to have it very sharp in your place, so it's more expensive, more time, but it's a great hobby, the power carving. But if you have a small place, go with this, or better go with this. That's what I do. Mm-hmm. Several friends in our club, they use this unit or something similar.
There's a lot of different makes of the micromotor.
Yes.
There, so.
So that's basically what I can tell you about power carving. Now we can probably ask some questions. David, I have a question.
What's that?
Do you have to constantly put oil in your tools?
The one that I really have to be careful about is this one. And where there's a little felt there that you have to keep oiled all the time to
Okay.
keep it lubed.
Then, about the
This
Fordham,
one?
you have a very aggressive.
You do, you do. This is set up with, I got it with a Cutzel blade in there. And it is variable speed. It is variable speed with a foot control.
It has a foot control.
It has a foot control. One of the things that I really don't like too much about these cables is they have a tendency to break. And they've got, they're made where they're spiraled. And if you go against the spiral, they have a tendency to break. But as long as they're going with the spiral, they perform okay. And that's why I only like one direction and that. So there's a foot control right here where you can gauge the speed and go into it. So you can get quite a bit of wood off with these versus the micro if you want to hog out a lot of wood first, a lot of material. So,
But this unit is also similar to that
Yep, yep.
because if
and you can get those in different shapes. And there.
see, in this one you can also do the same.
Yeah.
And, and then also with this, you have the advantage
Of the RPMs.
that you have a high speed and you have different shapes
Yep.
of burrs that you can have. You can have a round, a ball, all the different shapes. So this is what I have that is very useful.
Yep.
This is similar to what David has, that is precisely this. He has a good selection. When it comes to power carving, it could be sometimes expensive depending on how much you add.
And
But
you accumulate
You accumulate
over a
the-
period of
the-
time, so it's not
the
like
time.
you have to buy all of them at the same time.
Not at the same time, but I
Just
buy just the basics. I have about maximum 10 that are used all the time. Probably with 5 would be sufficient. But you can also buy the simple ones. Those are very cheap because you probably pay about either $6, $7 each, or you can buy others that are not very high quality because the price is about $20, $15 for a set or 12 or more.
Yep, absolutely. And there is, I was going to introduce another tool
Yes.
that was kind of a stepping, I call it, well, one of the stepping stones to the micro carver, and that's the Weecher. And it's variable speed. If I can just show it, I won't plug it in, I don't think. Well, I could plug it in, sure, why not? It's variable speed. And it fits nicely in the hand, so it's kind of it'll give you a little bit of transition into it. But you can see how how you can variable speed it. And you can kind of cut in there, and I got a dull bit. And kind of shape it right there.
Here.
Oh yeah. So it gives you, it's a nice little tool to get a good start with. And they're not too much money. I think they're
What,
right around 50.
56? Yeah.
Yeah, right around that area. You know, and it usually takes the same kind of bit. I think you get a ferrule, a collet for a couple different sizes. This happens to be a little smaller than the 1/8 inch. 1/8 inch bit seems to be the popular one for most of your micromotors, although there is those exceptions. And another stepping stone to that would be your Dremel. And I've used a Dremel quite a bit over the years. In fact, I used to like, well, still do, I like the chisels, mallets, knives, because of course the older you get, your hands don't work as well when we get older. So I've been transitioning into power and that. And over the course of time, when I was just using chisels and knives and mallets, I'd use the Dremel for the in-between. You know, because there's some of those cuts that you use, even with the mallet and the chisel, that kind of help you along. So that Dremel was a good, affordable tool to get started, and you could use the same size bits. So when you do transition from these into the micromotors, a lot of times you'll already have the bits to start out with.
Yes.
You know, so that kind of helps you transition into a lot of these.
How many years have you been carving with power carving?
Power carving maybe 20,
20 years.
But regular carving, I'm thinking 30, 40, maybe. I'm not as, I mean, off and on.
Well,
If I did it consistently, I'd probably be a lot
in my
better.
case, I use both the knives
Yeah.
and the power carving, and I really like it a lot.
Yeah,
To be able to combine both.
I do too.
I don't do everything with power carving, or I don't do everything with knives anymore.
Right.
All the edges that I do it with power carving, or sometimes with a knife, but the power carving is for details.
Yeah.
I can do
And
the
it's almost-
sanding.
What's nice is the handpiece is
Yes.
like, like using a pencil and that. So it goes good. We thank you for watching, and I thank the people at WKTV for letting us film here. And we thank you very much. Good
Thank
night
you.
now.